Prataparudra in person, as well as his entourage, allowed the Pandu Vijaya ceremony to be seen by all the associates of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu and his prominent devotees, Advaita Acharya, Nityananda Prabhu, and others, were very happy to observe how Lord Jagannath began the Rath Yatra. The very strongly built Dayatas, carriers of the Jagannath deity, were as powerful as drunken elephants. They manually carried Lord Jagannath from the throne to the car. While carrying the deity of Lord Jagannath, some of the Dayatas took hold of the shoulders of the Lord, and some caught his lotus feet. The Lord Jagannath deity was bound at the waist by a strong, thick rope made of silk. From two sides, the Dayatas caught hold of this rope and raised the deity. Strong, puffed-up cotton pads called tulis were spread out from the throne to the car, and the heavy deity of Lord Jagannath was carried from one pillow-like pad to the next by the Dayatas. While the Dayatas carried the heavy Jagannath deity from one pad to the next, some of the pads broke, and the cotton contents floated into the air. When they broke, they made a heavy crackling sound. Lord Jagannath is the maintainer of the whole universe. Who can carry him from one place to another? The Lord moves by his personal will just to perform his pastimes. While the Lord was transported from the throne to the car, tumultuous sounds were made on various musical instruments. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was chanting, "Manima, Manima," but he could not be heard. This is an honorific expression, Manima, Manima, and it's used to honor a respectable person. So, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was honoring or showing his respect to Lord Jagannath. While the Lord was being carried from the throne to the car, King Prataparudra personally engaged in the Lord's service by cleansing the road with a broom that had a golden handle. The king sprinkled the road with sandalwood-scented water. Although he was the owner of the royal throne, he engaged in menial service for the sake of Lord Jagannath. Although the king was the most exalted, respectable person, still he accepted menial service for the Lord. He therefore became a suitable candidate for receiving the Lord's mercy. Upon seeing the king engaged in such menial service, Caitanya Mahaprabhu became very happy. Simply by rendering this service, the king received the mercy of the Lord. So here we learn that whenever we manifest or express humble service for the sake of the Supreme Lord, the Lord is pleased, and that pleasure that he has results in blessings upon us. That can come mental blessings, it can be physical blessings, emotional blessings, but they, in any event, make us feel uplifted, exalted, enjoying, so that we actually feel the presence and the association of God. Everyone was astonished to see the decorations on the Rath car. The car appeared to be newly made of gold, and it was as high as Mount Sumeru. The decorations included bright mirrors and hundreds of chamaras, white whisks made of yak tails, the same that we use when we worship the deities here in our temple. When we are on near the last articles, they're white whisks, and we fan them up and down. So the decorations included bright mirrors and hundreds of chamaras, white whisks made of yak tails. On top of the car were a neat and clean canopy and a very beautiful flag. The car was also decorated with silken cloth and various pictures. Many brass bells, gongs, and ankle bells rang. For the pastimes of the Ratha Yatra ceremony, Lord Jagannath got aboard one car, and his sister Subhadra and elder brother Balaram got aboard 2 other cars. For 15 days the Lord had remained in a secluded place with the supreme goddess of fortune and had performed his pastimes with her. Having taken permission from the goddess of fortune, the Lord came out to ride on the Rath car and perform his pastimes for the pleasure of the devotees. The fine white sand spread all over the path resembled the bank of the Yamuna, and the small gardens on both sides looked just like those in Vrindavan. As Lord Jagannath rode in his car and saw the beauty on both sides, his mind was filled with pleasure. The pullers of the car were known as Godas, and they pulled with great pleasure. However, the car sometimes went very fast and sometimes very slow. Sometimes the car would stand still and not move, even though it was pulled very vigorously. The chariot therefore moved by the will of the Lord, not by the strength of any ordinary person. As the car stood still, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu gathered all his devotees and, with his own hand, decorated them with flower garlands and sandalwood pulp. Paramananda Puri and Brahmananda Bharati were both personally given garlands and sandalwood pulp from the very hands of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. This increased their transcendental pleasure. Similarly, when Advaita Acharya and Nityananda Prabhu felt the touch of the transcendental hand of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, they were very pleased. The Lord also gave garlands and sandalwood pulp to the performers of Sankirtan. The 2 chief performers were Svarup Damodar and Srivas Thakur. There were altogether 4 parties of Kirtan performers comprising 24 chanters. In each party, there were also 2 Madangars players, making an additional 8 persons. When the 4 parties were formed, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, after some consideration, divided the chanters. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ordered Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Acharya, Haridas Thakur, and Vakreshwar Pandit to dance in each of the 4 respective parties. Swarup Damodar was chosen as the leader of the first party and was given 5 assistants to respond to his chanting. The 5 who responded to the singing of Swarup Damodar were Damodar Pandit, Narayan Govindadat, Raghava Pandit, and Sri Govindananda. Advaita Acharya Prabhu was ordered to dance in the first group. The Lord then formed another group with Srivas Thakur as the chief man. The 5 singers who responded to the singing of Srivas Thakur were Gangadas, Haridas, Shriman, Subhananda, and Sri Ram Pandit. Sri Nityananda Prabhu was appointed as a dancer. Another group was formed consisting of Vasudev, Gopinath, and Murari. All these were responsive singers, and Mukunda was the chief singer. Another 2 persons, Sri Kanta and Vallabhasen, joined as responsive singers. In this group, the senior Haridas Thakur, was the dancer. The Lord formed another group, appointing Govinda Ghosh as leader. In this group, the younger Haridas, Vasudas, Vishnudas, and Raghava were the responding singers. 2 brothers named Madhava Ghosh and Vasudev Ghosh also joined this group as responsive singers. Vakreshwar Pandit was the dancer. There was a Sankirtan party from the village known as Kulinagram, and Ramananda and Satyaraj were appointed the dancers in this group. There was another party that came from Shantipur and was formed by Advaita Acharya. Achyutananda was the dancer, and the rest of the men were singers. Another party was formed by the people of Khanda. These people were singing in a different place. In that group, Narahari Prabhu and Raghu Nandana were dancing. So we can see that there's quite a lot of music, sound, drums, cartels, playing. This was no gentle singing activity. They were going to really express their love, their devotion, their gladness, their happiness, and they're going to bang away. And they're going to incite and stimulate and generate amongst the crowd the same type of energetic singing. Sorry. 4 parties chanted and danced in front of Lord Jagannath, and on either side was another party. Yet another was at the rear. There were altogether 7 parties of Sankirtan, and in each party 2 men were beating drums. Thus 14 drums were being played at once. The sound was tumultuous, and all the devotees became mad. All the Vaishnavas came together like an assembly of clouds. As the devotees chanted the holy names in great ecstasy, tears fell from their eyes like rain. When the Sankirtan responded, it filled the 3 worlds. Indeed, no one could hear any sounds or musical instruments other than the Sankirtan. Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu wandered through the 7 groups, chanting the holy name, Hari, Hari. Raising his arms, he shouted, all glories to Lord Jagannath. Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu then exhibited another mystic power by performing pastimes simultaneously in all 7 groups. Everyone said, Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu is present in my group. Indeed, he does not go anywhere else. He is bestowing his mercy upon only us. Actually, no one could see the inconceivable potency of the Lord. Only the most confidential devotees, those in pure, unalloyed devotional service, could understand. Lord Jagannath was very much pleased by the Sankirtan, and he brought his car to a standstill just to see the performance. King Prataparudra was also astonished to see the Sankirtan. He became inactive and was converted to ecstatic love of Krishna. When the king informed Kashi Mishra of the glories of the Lord, Kashi Mishra replied, O king, your fortune has no limit. The king and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya were both aware of the Lord's activities, but no one else could see the tricks of Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Only a person who has received the mercy of the Lord can understand. Without the Lord's mercy, even the demigods headed by Lord Brahma cannot understand. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu had been very satisfied to see the king accept the menial task of sweeping the street. And for this humility, the king received the mercy of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. He could therefore observe the mystery of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's activities. In other words, he knew that the Lord had appeared miraculously in the 7 different parties as 7 different forms, 7 persons. But others could not. Those who were in those parties simply thought, as I read before, that no, he's only in my group. Although the king had been refused an interview, he was indirectly bestowed causeless mercy. Who can understand the internal potency of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu? When the 2 great personalities, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Kashi Mishra saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's causeless mercy upon the king, they were astonished. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performed his pastimes for some time in this way. He personally sang and induced his personal associates to dance. According to his need, the Lord sometimes exhibited one form and sometimes many. This was being executed by his internal potency. Indeed, the personality of Godhead forgot himself in the course of his transcendental pastimes, but his internal potency, Lila Shakti, knowing the intentions of the Lord, made all the arrangements. Just as Lord Sri Krishna formerly performed the Rasa Lila dance and other pastimes at Vrindavan, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performed uncommon pastimes moment after moment. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's dancing before the Rath Yatra car could be perceived only by pure devotees. Others could not understand. Descriptions of Lord Krishna's uncommon dancing can be found in the revealed scriptures, Srimad Bhagavatam. In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced in great jubilation and inundated all the people with waves of ecstatic love. Thus, Lord Jagannath mounted his car, and Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu inspired all his devotees to dance in front of it. Now, please hear about Lord Jagannath's going to the Gundicha temple, while Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced before the Rath car. The Lord performed kirtan for some time, and through his own endeavor, inspired all the devotees to dance. When the Lord himself wanted to dance, all 7 groups combined together. The Lord's devotees, including Srivas, Ramai, Raghu, Govinda, Mukunda, Haridas, Govindanandana, Madhava, and Govinda, all combined together. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu desired to jump high while dancing, he placed these 9 people in charge of Swarup Damodar. These devotees, Swarup Damodar, and the devotees in his charge, sang along with the Lord, and they also ran beside him. All the other groups of men also sang. Offering obeisances to the Lord with folded hands, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu raised his face toward Jagannath and prayed as follows. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto Lord Krishna, who is the worshipable deity for all Brahminical men, who is the well-wisher of cows and Brahmins, and who is always benefiting the whole world. I offer my repeated obeisances to the personality of Godhead, known as Krishna and Govinda. All glories unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known as the Son of Devaki. All glories to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known as the Light of the Dynasty of Vrishni. All glories to the Supreme Dynasty of Vrishni. All glories to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose bodily luster is like that of a new cloud, and whose body is as soft as a lotus flower. All glories to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who appeared on this planet to deliver the world from the burden of demons, and who can offer liberation to everyone. Lord Sri Krishna is he who is known as Jana Nivasa, the ultimate resort of all living entities, and who is also known as Devaki Nandana or Yashoda Nandana, the son of Devaki and Yashoda. He is the guide of the Yadu dynasty, and with his mighty arms he kills everything inauspicious, as well as every man who is impious. By his presence, he destroys all things inauspicious for all living entities, moving and inert. His blissful, smiling face always increases the lusty desires of the gopis of Vrindavan. Oh, may he be all glorious and happy. This is a very important verse. Everyone should memorize it. I am not a Brahmin, I am not a Kshatriya. I am not a Vaishya or a Shudra, nor am I a brahmachari, a householder, a vanaprastha, or a sannyasi. I identify myself only as the servant of the servant of the servant of the lotus feet of the Lord Krishna, the maintainer of the gopis. Sorry, I don't have any water here. If somebody's in the back, they can give me some water, that would be great. He is like an ocean of nectar, and he is the cause of universal transcendental bliss. He is always existing with brilliance. Having recited all these verses from Scripture, the Lord again offered his obeisances, and all the devotees with folded hands also offered prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu danced and jumped high, roaring like thunder and moving in a circle like a wheel, he appeared like a circling firebrand. Wherever Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu stepped while dancing, the whole earth with its hills and seas appeared to tilt. When Caitanya Mahaprabhu danced, he displayed various blissful, transcendental changes in his body. Sometimes he appeared as though stunned. Sometimes the hairs of his body stood on end. Sometimes he perspired, cried, trembled, and changed color. And sometimes he exhibited symptoms of helplessness, pride, exuberance, and humility. When Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu fell down with a crash while dancing, he would roll on the ground. At such times it appeared that a golden mountain was rolling on the ground. Nityananda Prabhu would stretch out his two hands and try to catch the Lord when he was running here and there. Advaita Acharya would walk behind the Lord and loudly chant Hari Bol, again and again, just to check the crowds from coming too near the Lord. The devotees formed 3 circles. The first circle was guided by Nityananda Prabhu, who is Balaram himself, the possessor of great strength. All the devotees, headed by Kashishvar and Govinda, linked hands and formed a second circle around the Lord. Maharaj Prataparudra and his personal assistants formed a third circle around the 2 inner circles just to check the crowds from coming too near. With his hands on the shoulders of Harishchandra, King Prataparudra could see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dancing, and the king felt great ecstasy. While the king beheld the dancing, Srivas Thakur, standing in front of him, became ecstatic as he saw the dancing of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Seeing Srivas Thakur standing before the king, Harichandana touched Srivas with his hand and requested him to, hey, step aside. Absorbed in watching Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dance, Srivas Thakur could not understand why he was being touched and pushed. After he was pushed again and again, he became angry. Srivas Thakur slapped Harishchandra to stop him from pushing him. In turn, this made Harichandana angry. Is it necessary to have that sound in the background? Because it will interfere with the listening of the persons who are now listening. It should not be on at this time. Thank you very much. You can put it up there. Thank you very much. As the angered Harichandra was about to speak to Srivas Thakur, Prataparudra Maharaj personally stopped him. King Prataparudra said, "You are very fortunate, for you have been graced by the touch of Srivas Thakur. I am not so fortunate. You should feel obliged to him." Everyone was astonished by the dancing of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And even Lord Jagannath became extremely happy to see him. The car came to a complete standstill and remained immobile while Lord Jagannath, with unblinking eyes, watched the dancing of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. The goddess of fortune, Subhadra, and Lord Balaram both felt great happiness and ecstasy while the king beheld the dancing. Srivas Thakur, standing in front of him, became ecstatic as he saw the dancing of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Okay, that page has been read, so I'm going on to the next one. Somehow it got repeated. So, when Caitanya Mahaprabhu danced and jumped high, 8 wonderful transformations indicative of divine ecstasy were seen in his body. All these symptoms were visible simultaneously. His skin erupted with goose pimples, and the hairs of his body stood on end. His body resembled a shamuli, silk cotton tree, all covered with thorns. Indeed, the people became afraid just to see his teeth chatter, and they even thought that his teeth would fall out. No, my teeth are not falling out, but it's just to give a little sound effects. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's holy body flowed with perspiration and at the same time oozed blood. He made the sounds jagagaga, jagagaga, and a voice choked with ecstasy. What is this jagagaga? He was trying to say Jagannath, 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 but his voice was choked up in ecstasy, and all that would come out is jagagaga, jagagaga, jagagaga. Tears came forcefully from the eyes of the Lord as if from a syringe, and all the people surrounding him became wet. Everyone saw the complexion of his body change from white to pink, so that his luster resembled that of a malaka flower. Sometimes he appeared stunned. Sometimes he rolled on the ground. Indeed, sometimes his legs and hands became as hard as dry wood, and he did not move. When the Lord fell to the ground, sometimes his breathing almost stopped. When the devotees saw this, their lives also became very feeble. Water flowed from his eyes, and sometimes through his nostrils, and foam fell from his mouth. These flowings appeared to be torrents of nectar descending from the moon. The foam that fell from the mouth of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was taken and drunk by Shubhananda because he was very fortunate and expert in relishing the mellow of ecstatic love of Krishna. After Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu had performed his devastating dance for some time, his mind entered into a mood of ecstatic love. After abandoning the dancing, the Lord ordered Swarup Damodar to sing. Understanding his mind, Swarup Damodar began to sing as follows. These are the lyrics. Now I have gained the Lord of my life, in the absence of whom I was being burned by Cupid and was withering away. So the person who is actually singing this is Srimati Radharani. She's talking about her love in separation. When this refrain was loudly sung by Swarup Damodar, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu again began rhythmically dancing in transcendental bliss. The car of Lord Jagannath began to move slowly, while the son of Madhyasachi went ahead and danced in front. While dancing and singing, all the devotees in front of Lord Jagannath kept their eyes on him. Caitanya Mahaprabhu then went to the end of the procession with the Sankirtan performers. His eyes and mind fully absorbed in Lord Jagannath, Caitanya Mahaprabhu began to play the drama of the song with his 2 arms. When Caitanya Mahaprabhu was dramatically enacting the song, he would sometimes fall behind in the procession. At such times, Lord Jagannath would come to a standstill. When Caitanya Mahaprabhu again went forward, Lord Jagannath's car would slowly start again. Thus, there was a sort of competition between Caitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Jagannath in seeing who would lead. But Caitanya Mahaprabhu was so strong that he made Lord Jagannath wait in his car. While Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was dancing, his ecstasy changed. Raising his two arms, he began to recite the following verse in a loud voice. That very personality who stole away my heart during my youth is now again my master. These are the same moonlit nights of the month of Chaitra. The same fragrance of malati flowers is there, and the same sweet breezes are blowing from the Kadamba forest. In our intimate relationship, I am also the same lover. Yet still, my mind is not happy here. I am eager to go back to that place on the bank of the Reva, under the Vitasi tree. That is my desire. The bank of the Reva is the Yamuna. This verse was recited by Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu again and again. He is in the mood of Srimati Radharani here. This verse was recited by Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu again and again, but for Swarup Damodar, no one could understand its meaning. I have already explained this verse. Now I shall simply describe it in brief. Formerly, all the gopis of Vrindavan were very pleased when they met with Krishna in the holy place Kurukshetra. Similarly, after seeing Lord Jagannath, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu awoke with the ecstasy of the gopis. Being absorbed in this ecstasy, he asked Swarup Damodar to sing the refrain. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu spoke thus to Lord Jagannath. Remember, Jagannath is Krishna, and Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu is Radharani. You are the same Krishna, and I am the same Radharani. We are meeting again in the same way that we met in the beginning of our lives. Although we both... Excuse me. Time out for a drink. Water, that is. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu spoke thus to Lord Jagannath. You are the... You are the same Krishna, and I am the same Radharani. We are meeting again in the same way that we met in the beginning of our lives. Although we are both the same, my mind is still attracted to Vrindavan Dham. I wish that you will please again appear with your lotus feet in Vrindavan. In Kurukshetra, there are crowds of people, elephants and horses, and also the rattling of chariots. But in Vrindavan there are flower gardens, and the humming of the bees and chirping of the birds can be heard. Here at Kurukshetra, you are dressed like a royal prince, accompanied by great warriors. But in Vrindavan, you appear just like an ordinary cowherd boy, accompanied only by your beautiful flute. Here there is not even a drop of the ocean of transcendental happiness that I enjoyed with you in Vrindavan. I therefore request you to come to Vrindavan and enjoy pastimes with me. If you do so, my ambition will certainly be fulfilled. I have already described in brief Srimati Radharani's statement from Srimad Bhagavatam. In that ecstatic mood, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu recited many other verses, but people in general could not understand their meaning. The meaning of those verses was known to Swarup Damodar Goswami, but he did not reveal it. However, Sri Rupa Goswami has broadcast the meaning. While dancing, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu began to recite the following verse, which he tasted in the association of Svarup Damodar Goswami. The gopis spoke thus: "Dear Lord, whose navel is just like a lotus flower, your lotus feet are the only shelter for those who have fallen into the deep well of material existence. Your feet are worshipped and meditated upon by great mystic yogis and highly learned philosophers. We wish that these lotus feet may also be awakened within our hearts, although we are only ordinary persons engaged in household affairs." Speaking in the mode of Srimati Radharani, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "For most people, the mind and heart are one. But because my mind is never separated from Vrindavan, I consider my mind and Vrindavan to be one." My mind is already Vrindavan, and since you are like Vrindavan, would you please place your lotus feet there? I would deem that your full mercy. My dear Lord, kindly hear my true submission. My home is Vrindavan, and I wish your association there. But if I do not get it, then it will be very difficult for me to keep up my life. My dear Krishna, and we have to wait till the gate of the altar goes up because it makes noise and it will interfere with your concentration. Good. My dear Krishna, formerly when you were staying in Mathura, you sent Uddhava to teach me speculative knowledge and mystic yoga. Now you yourself are speaking the same thing, but my mind doesn't accept it. There is no place in my mind for Jnana Yoga or Dhyana Yoga. Although you know me very well, you are still instructing me in Jnana Yoga and Dhyana Yoga. It is not right for you to do so. So Srimati Radharani sorry, was objecting to the fact that when Uddhava came, another gate goes down. It goes up. We'll wait again. Sorry about that, but the show must go on. Oh, it looks like the doors are even opening too. Oh, they're closing. Okay. So, when Uddhava was sent by Krishna to Vrindavan to soothe the hearts of the gopis of Vrindavan and Mother Yashoda, Nanda Maharaj, and the Gopas, because their hearts were very upset and disturbed and shaken by the fact that Krishna had gone to Mathura. So Krishna sent Uddhava to them to try to pacify them. And Uddhava looks very much like Krishna. So therefore, when he went there, he told the gopis that if you want to feel the presence of Krishna, all you have to do is just imagine him, visualize to him, and keep him in your mind, and that will be a great meditation, and you will feel the presence of Krishna in that manner. So Srimati Radharani is objecting to this. This may be all right for ordinary people to feel the presence of Krishna, but they want something more. They want to touch Krishna. They put their arm around his shoulders. They want to look into his eyes. They want to hold his hands. They want to put their head on his feet. This is a higher level, a higher dimension of absorption in Krishna. It was not enough for them to visualize, meditate. That's all right for ordinary people. The gopis are not ordinary people. They are most extreme, the most exalted devotees in the world. And they want to see Krishna. They want to touch Krishna. They want to hear Krishna. They want to smell Krishna. They want every aspect of Krishna to reach into their senses and completely swirl through their bodies in the form of the various divine ecstasies that Krishna would give to them. So, my dear Krishna, formerly when you were staying in Mathura, you sent Uddhava to teach me speculative knowledge and mystic yoga. Now you yourself are speaking the same thing. So when they met in Kurukshetra, Krishna took the gopis to a grove aside from where everyone was, and he began to talk to them the same way Uddhava did. Just meditate upon me, just think of me, just focus your attention. And they said, no, 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 we don't want that. We want to touch your feet. We want to smell your body. We want to feel the scent. We want to hear your voice. We want to hear your flute. We want all the tactile sensations of loving, sensational senses. So therefore, the gopis are on a different plane. We should not think that we are worthy of this or that we can jump into something like this. This was a natural, spontaneous, overwhelming, overwhelming love, overwhelming emotion, overwhelming feeling, and it came quite naturally to them as a result of the depth, the height of their love for Krishna. Until one accepts or one achieves that height of Krishna, he should not even think of this. It will only be artificial. And artificial love, if you want to call it that, is not at all appreciated by Krishna. Caitanya Mahaprabhu continued in the mood of Radharani. I would like to withdraw my consciousness from you and engage it in material activities. But even though I try, I cannot do so. I am naturally inclined to you only. Your instructions for me to meditate on you are therefore simply ludicrous. In this way, you are killing me. It is not very good for you to think of me as a candidate for your instructions. The gopis are not like the mystic yogis. They will never be satisfied simply by meditating on your lotus feet and imitating the so-called yogis. Teaching the gopis about meditation is another kind of duplicity or deception. When they are instructed to undergo mystic yoga practice, they are not at all satisfied. On the contrary, they become more and more angry with you. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu continued, the gopis have fallen into the great ocean of separation and are being devoured by the Timingila fish of their ambition to serve you. That is all the gopis want to do. They want to serve the Lord. Some want to cook for him. Some want to massage his back. Some want to strum on a musical instrument. Others want to play a flute. Some want to massage his feet. Others want to sing to him. They want service. Because service, as Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, Jivera Swarupa Hoy Krishnaya Nitya Das, it is the underlying, or it is the constitutional position of the living entity to be a servant of Krishna. We have fallen from the spiritual world to not serve Krishna, but to be served as a Krishna. And that is our big, unfortunate sin. So Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu came. He came to teach us, if you want to experience, you want to enjoy real transcendental bliss, get back to the original, get back to the basics. And the basics are loving, devotional service to Krishna. And if you do that, you will get back to your original position as it once was in the spiritual world. But because you wanted to be a Krishna rather than serve Krishna, you lost your position, and now you are full of miseries and afflicted by the three modes of material nature. All this can be overcome by the by the activity of loving devotional service. It cannot just be service. The service should be loving. My dear Lord, may you be pleased by this. My dear Lord, may you be more joyful by this. My dear Lord, how can I serve you even better, serve you more, serve you with the gratitude I feel that comes from you giving me so much love and happiness? How can I do that? I want to serve you better. This is the mood of the devotee. He never feels that he has served enough. He never feels that he has given good enough. He never feels that his service is so great. He thinks rather he is cheating the Lord. He is giving less to the Lord than the Lord should be given. And he begs the Lord, please, please, please enable me, help me, inspire me, enliven me to serve you better and better and better, so that your smile on your face of joy will be broader and broader and broader. Continuing, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu continued, the gopis have fallen to the great ocean of separation and are being devoured by the timangila fish of their ambition to serve you. The gopis are to be delivered from the mouths of these timangila fish, for they are pure devotees. Since they have no material conception of life, why should they aspire for liberation? They're free of the three modes of material nature. They're free of karma. They're free of the chains that keep us bound to the material world, such as all the different material desires that strangle us, dangle us. The gopis do not want that liberation desired by the yogis and jnanis, for they are already liberated from the ocean of material existence. So we can see here how much higher, how much greater, how much better the gopis are than the people are today who are looking for liberation. They're looking for samadhi. They're looking for oneness. They want to merge. This is all nonsense to the gopis. All they want to do is just please, satisfy, uplift Krishna more and more. He's always blissful, but they want to increase his bliss, intensify his bliss, raise, exalt his bliss. And when they see him so happy, so joyful, so enlivened, that is their life and soul. That is their love. And when the Lord shows his appreciation by holding their hands or placing his arms around their shoulders or putting his cheek next to their cheeks, that is their everything. For that is all in all. This is the Supreme Lord showing his great, his glorious, his wonderful appreciation of the gopis' service to him. He is not a dumb stone. He is a feelingful Lord. And whatever we do, in any manner or form, for the pleasure of the Lord will reciprocate, because that is the kind of person he is. He does not simply take. He takes, but he gives back double, triple, quadruple. There is no end to his giving back. How can we not love such a Lord? It is amazing, I'm reading, that you have forgotten the land of Vrindavan. And how is it that you have forgotten your father, mother, and friends? How have you forgotten Govardhan Hill, the bank of the Yamuna, and the forest where you enjoyed the Ras Leela dance? Krishna, you are certainly a refined gentleman with all good qualities. You are well behaved, soft-hearted, and merciful. I know that there is not even a tinge of fault to be found in you. Yet, your mind does not even remember the inhabitants of Vrindavan. This is only my misfortune and nothing else. I do not care for my personal unhappiness, but when I see the morose face of Mother Yashoda and the hearts of all the inhabitants of Vrindavan breaking because of you, I wonder whether you want to kill them or do you want to enliven them by coming there. Why are you simply keeping them alive in a state of suffering? The inhabitants of Vrindavan do not want you dressed like a prince. Nor do they want you to associate with great warriors in a different country. They cannot leave the land of Vrindavan, and without your presence, oh, they are all dying. What is their condition to be? My dear Krishna, you are the life and soul of Vrindavan Dham. You are especially the life of Nanda Maharaj. You are the only opulence in the land of Vrindavan, and you are very merciful. Please come and let all the residents of Vrindavan live. Kindly keep your lotus feet again in Vrindavan. After hearing Srimati Radharani's statements, Lord Krishna's love for the inhabitants of Vrindavan was evoked, and his body and mind became very much perturbed. After hearing of their love for him, he immediately thought himself to be always indebted to the residents of Vrindavan. Then Krishna began to pacify Srimati Radharani as follows. My dearest Srimati Radharani, please hear me. I am speaking the truth. I cried day and night simply upon remembering all you inhabitants of Vrindavan. No one knows how unhappy this makes me. Sri Krishna continued. All the inhabitants of Vrindavan Dham, my mother, father, cowherd, boyfriends, and everything else are like my life and soul. And among all the inhabitants of Vrindavan, the gopis are my very life and soul. And among the gopis, oh, you, Srimati Radharani, are the chief. Therefore, you are my very life. My dear Srimati Radharani, I am always subservient to the loving affairs of all of you. I am under your control only. My separation from you and residence in distant places have occurred due to my strong misfortune. When a woman is separated from the man she loves, or a man is separated from his beloved woman, neither of them can live. It is a fact that they live only for each other. For if one dies and the other hears of it, he or she will die. Such a loving, chaste wife and loving husband desire all welfare for each other in separation. Such a loving, chaste wife and loving husband desire all welfare for each other in separation and do not care for personal happiness, desiring only each other's well-being. Such a pair certainly meet again without delay. You are my most dear, and I know that in my absence you cannot live for a moment. Just to keep you living, I worship Lord Narayan by his merciful potency. I come to Vrindavan every day to enjoy pastimes with you. I then return to Dwarka Dham. Thus you can always feel my presence there in Vrindavan. So Krishna is saying that he comes there invisibly. Now that is one of mystic powers. Even some of the Catholic saints have shown themselves to be invisible at times. Or one can be in various forms, such as Krishna could be in 10 places, 100 places at one time. So he's saying now, I come in an invisible state. It does not say why, but possibly because if the gopis see him, they will not let him go. So much do they love him. But he decides that he will let them feel his presence. And feeling his presence, they will desire him more and more and more and more, till finally, as he mentions here, I then returned to Dwarka Dham. Thus you can always feel my presence there in Vrindavan. Our love affair is more powerful because of my good fortune in receiving Narayan's grace. This allows me to come there unseen by others. I hope that very soon I will be visible to everyone. I have already killed all the mischievous demons who are enemies of the Yadu dynasty. And I have also killed Kamsa and his allies. but there are 2 or 4 demons still living. I want to kill them, and after doing so, I shall very soon return to Vrindavan. Please know this for certain. I wish to protect the inhabitants of Vrindavan from the attacks of my enemies. That is why I remain in my kingdom. Otherwise, I am indifferent to my royal position. Whatever wives, sons, and wealth I maintain in the kingdom are only for the satisfaction of the Yadus. Your loving qualities always attract me to Vrindavan. Indeed, they will bring me back within 10 or 20 days, and when I return, I shall enjoy both day and night with you and all the damsels of Vrajabhumi. While speaking to Srimati Radharani, Krishna became very anxious to return to Vrindavan. He made her listen to a verse which banished all her difficulties and which assured her that she would again attain Krishna. Lord Sri Krishna said, "Devotional service unto me is the only way to attain me." My dear gopis, whatever love and affection you have obtained for me, by good fortune, is the only reason for my returning to you. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu would sit in his room with Swarup Damodar and taste the topics of these verses day and night. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu danced completely absorbed in ecstatic emotion. While looking at the face of Lord Jagannath, he danced and recited these verses. No one can describe the good fortune of Swarup Damodar Goswami, for he is always absorbed in the service of the Lord with his body, mind, and words. The senses of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were identical with the senses of Swarup. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to become fully absorbed in tasting the singing of Swarup Damodar. In emotional ecstasy, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would sometimes sit on the ground and, looking down, would write on the ground with his finger. Fearing that the Lord would injure his finger by writing in this way, Swarup Damodar checked him with his own hand. Swarup Damodar used to sing exactly according to the ecstatic emotion of the Lord. Whenever a particular mellow mood was being tasted by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Swarup Damodar would personify it by singing. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu looked upon the beautiful lotus-like face and eyes of Lord Jagannath. Lord Jagannath was garlanded, dressed with nice garments, and adorned with beautiful ornaments. His face was glittering from the rays of sunshine, and the entire atmosphere was fragrant. An ocean of transcendental bliss expanded in the heart of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and symptoms of madness immediately intensified like a hurricane. Sometimes a person may think, what is the point of trying to be like a madman? You want to become like a madman? You go to the mental hospital and you see all these mad people. Absolutely not. The madness of persons in the material world, which comes from material madness, is not the same as the madness that comes from transcendental love of God. It is completely different. One gives ecstasy, one gives joy, one gives happiness, one makes you jump, one makes you run, one makes you fall on the ground, rolling around, and all you feel is the love, love, love of the Lord swirling around you. That is not what they have in the mental hospitals. Guaranteed. Absolutely. No, their madness is a very painful, very miserable, very unfortunate, because it is based upon attachment to the material world, unfulfillment of one's desires in the material world, frustration in the material world, hatred of the material world, and all of such, which is the very opposite of transcendental madness. So please, we should all remember this. We should not strive for madness. We should strive simply to love the Lord with all our heart, with all our mind, with all our senses. And by so doing, let the Lord do his business, which is to reciprocate with us in the way that he wants to. Not, I want madness, I want this, I want nothing but to serve you, love you, and glorify you and honors you. That's all I want, Lord. Give me that, and you give me everything. Lord Jagannath was garlanded, dressed with nice garments, and adorned with beautiful ornaments. His face was glittering from the rays of sunshine, and the entire atmosphere was fragrant. An ocean of transcendental bliss expanded in the heart of Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, and symptoms of madness immediately intensified like a hurricane. The madness of transcendental bliss created waves of various emotions. The emotions appeared like opposing soldiers staging a fight. There was an increase in all the unnatural emotional symptoms. Thus, there were awakening emotions, peacefulness, joined, mixed, transcendental and prevalent emotions, and impetuses for emotion. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's body appeared like a transcendental Himalayan mountain, bearing ecstatic emotional flower trees, all of them blooming. The sight of all these symptoms attracted everyone's mind and consciousness. Indeed, the Lord sprinkled everyone's mind with the nectar of transcendental love of Godhead. He sprinkled the minds of the servants of Lord Jagannath, the government officers, the pilgrim visitors, the general populace, and all the residents of Jagannath Puri. Upon seeing the dancing and ecstatic love of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, everyone became astonished. In their hearts, they became infatuated with love of Krishna. Everyone danced and chanted in ecstatic love, and a great noise resounded. Everyone was overwhelmed with transcendental bliss just to see the dancing of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Apart from the others, even Lord Jagannath and Lord Balaram, with great happiness, began to move very slowly upon seeing the dancing of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Lord Jagannath and Lord Balaram sometimes stopped the car and happily observed Lord Chaitanya's dancing. Anyone who was able to see them stop and watch the dancing bore witness to their pastimes. When Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu was dancing and wandering in this way, he fell down in front of Maharaj Prataparudra. Maharaj Prataparudra picked the Lord up with great respect. But upon seeing the king, Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu came to his external senses. After seeing the king, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu condemned himself, saying, "Oh, how pitiful it is that I have touched a person who is interested in mundane affairs." Not even Lord Nityananda Prabhu, Kashishvar, or Govinda took care of Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu when he fell down. Nityananda was in great ecstasy, and Kashishvar and Govinda were elsewhere. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu had already been satisfied by the king's behavior, for the king had accepted the service of a sweeper for Lord Jagannath. Therefore, Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu actually desired to see the king. However, just to warn his personal associates, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, externally expressed feelings of anger. He wanted his devotees to not become attached to mundane affairs, mundane opulence, mundane glorification, anything that glorifies the material world. He didn't want them to do that. And kings often get that. They do that, and they can't help that. So he was trying to instill in his devotees that that is not where happiness is. That is temporary. It is momentary. It is for a moment, and then it's gone, and then what? And then where are you? Back in frustration alley. However, just to warn his personal associates, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu externally expressed feelings of anger. King Prataparudra became frightened when Lord Chaitanya showed external anger. But Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya told the king, no, don't worry. He likes you very much. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya informed the king, the Lord is very satisfied with you. By pointing you out, he was teaching his personal associates how to behave with mundane people. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya continued, I shall submit your petition when there is an opportune moment. It will then be easy for you to come and meet the Lord. After circumambulating Jagannath, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went behind the car and began pushing it with his head. As soon as he pushed, the car immediately started to move, making a rattling noise. The people all around began to chant the holy name of the Lord, Hari, 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 Hari. As the car began to move, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took his personal associates in front of the cars occupied by Lord Balaram and Subhadra, the goddess of fortune. Greatly inspired, he then began to dance in front of them. After finishing the dance before Lord Baladev and Subhadra, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came before Lord Jagannath's car. Upon seeing Lord Jagannath, he began to dance again. When they reached the place called Balagandi, Lord Jagannath stopped his car and began to look left and right. On the left side, Lord Jagannath saw a neighborhood of Brahmins and a coconut tree grove. On the right side, he saw nice flower gardens resembling those in the holy place Vrindavan. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees were dancing in front of the car, and Lord Jagannath, having stopped the car, watched the dancing. It was customary that food be offered to the Lord at Vipra Shashana. Indeed, innumerable dishes of food were offered, and Lord Jagannath tasted each one of them. All kinds of devotees of Lord Jagannath, from neophytes to the most advanced, offered their best cooked food to the Lord. We should try to do the same. These devotees included the king, his queens, his ministers and friends, and all other big and small residents of Jagannath Puri. All the visitors who had come from different countries to Jagannath Puri, as well as the local devotees, offered their personally cooked food to the Lord. The devotees offered their food everywhere, in front of the car and behind it, on the two sides and within the flower garden. Wherever possible, they made their offering to the Lord, for there were no hard and fast rules. While the food was being offered, a large crowd of people gathered. At that time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stopped his dancing and went to a nearby garden. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu entered the garden and, immersed in great ecstatic emotion, fell flat on a raised platform there. The Lord was very much fatigued from the hard labor of dancing, and there was perspiration all over his body. He therefore enjoyed the fragrant, cool breeze of the garden. All the devotees who had been performing Sankirtan came there and took rest under each and every tree. Thus I have described the great performance of congregational chanting by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as he danced in front of Lord Jagannath. In his prayer known as the Chaitanyastika, Srila Rupa Goswami has given a vivid description of the Lord's dancing before the car of Lord Jagannath. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced, this is a quote, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced down the main road in great ecstasy before Lord Jagannath, the master of Nilachala, who was sitting on his car, overwhelmed by the transcendental bliss of dancing and surrounded by Vaishnavas who sang the holy names, he manifested waves of ecstatic love of Godhead. When will Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again be visible to my vision? Everyone, please heed the following. Anyone who hears this description of the Car festival will attain Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He will also attain the elevated state by which he will have firm conviction in devotional service and love of Godhead. Let me read that one more time. It deserves to be read many times. Anyone who hears this description of the Car festival will attain Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He will also attain the elevated state by which he will have firm conviction in devotional service and love of Godhead. Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishnadas, narrate Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, following in their footsteps. And I thank you all who have patiently listened to this incredible pastime of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the explanations which are given and the understanding which are given as Lord Chaitanya manifests his Srimati Radharani mode of expression. Again, thank you very much. I did not read the purports. Again, they are in chapter 13, and you will find them there, and there you will find further explanations. This is a very amazingly, greatly written piece of transcendental literature. I recommend it to all, and that it should be read over and over and over and over, especially at this time of the year, at the time when we celebrate the auspicious appearance day of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hare Krishna! All glories to all the devotees listening. Thank you so much. Krishna, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama, Adorable Lord of mercy and of love, salutations and prostrations unto you. You are omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient, existence, knowledge, and bliss absolute. You are the indweller of all beings. Please grant us an understanding heart, equal vision, balanced mind, faith, devotion, and wisdom. Grant us an inner spiritual strength to resist temptations and to control the mind. Fill our hearts with divine virtues. Oh, let us behold you in all these names and forms. Let us serve you in all these names and forms. Let us ever remember you. Let us ever sing your glories. Let your name be ever on our lips. Let us abide in you forever and ever. Oh Lord, bless us with pure, unadulterated love for your lotus feet, over and over, again and again, forever and ever. Oh, wow. Shri Gonitai ki, Shri Rukmini Dwakadish ki, Shri Jagannath Baladev Devi Subhadra ki. No physical devotees here. There may be a few visible ones. They are big for their blessings. I can use them. Jai Rukmini Dwakadish. Thank you for your blessings. Thank you for giving me the ability to speak these things. Thank you for enabling me to share with the devotees. Thank you for allowing me to serve them. Please allow me to serve them all. Hare Krishna.